This is Apeksha teacher once again. I'm happy to be back. Today we are going to learn one more very beautiful and heart-touching poem. The title of the poem is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. Now this is written by Mr. Spencer. His first name is Stephen Spender, right? Let us start once more. As usual, I will first start with our introduction of our poet. The name of our poet is Stephen Spender. Now, Stephen Spender was born on 28 January 1909 and he passed away on 16 July 1995. Now, he was an English poet, novelist, and an essayist who concentrated on the themes of social injustice and class struggle in his work. See, in this poem also, its main theme is about the social injustice and the life of people in slums, especially the children. He was a very famous person. He was appointed the 17th Poet Laureate Consultant in Poetry to the United States Liberty of Congress in the year 1965. He was a professor of English at University College London between the year 1970 and 1977, and then he became Professor Emeritus. Fine. If I want to give an outline of our poem, I could say that Stephen Spender took a keen interest in politics and declared himself to be a socialist and a pacifist. And because he believed in pacifism and socialism equally, our poem, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, he was concentrated on the themes of social injustice and class inequalities. Through the examples of some children, he attacks those who are exploiting the weaker sections of the society. Okay, so these are some main points. Once more, I would like to go through it. The themes are of social injustice and how we need to improve the living conditions of the children in the slum. Now, if I talk about the form, the way the poem is written, it is written in free verse poem, and the literary devices or the figures of speech which are used frequently in the poem are repetition. The words that are used are far. Simile, they are compared to rootless weeds. Alliteration, ships, suns, spectacles of steel, bottle, bits on stones. When we go in the poem, you can observe how he uses this. He also uses visual imaginary, where he has used the words belled, flowery, trioles, valley, run azure on gold sands. All these things have an imaginary quality which will help us to imagine how he thinks and how it should be. And of course, metaphor, the paper seeming boy and all those things will help us to understand the poem better. If we start with the poem, first I will read the first stanza. Far from gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn around their pallor, the tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper seeming boy with rat's eye, the stunted unlucky ear of twisted bones reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted sweet young boy, his lies live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. The first stanza over here explains the life of children in a slum. Now, if you ask me what is a slum, the picture that is shown here will give you a visual impression what a slum is. Now, there is a school in the slum. Elementary school means a primary school in which there are children from that shanties or jhopadpatti who come and study there. Now these children are given identities. If you see here, the poet here describes the pathetic and miserable condition of the children sitting in a classroom in a slum school. The children's faces, if you notice, are unlike the usual children of school. The usual children of schools are, polished shoes, ironed uniforms, plaited hair, and a smile, and happy to go to school. But they are very far away from the beautiful sights of nature. They look very weak and they are looking very hungry. Their unkept hair looks like rootless weeds on their pale faces. See, if you see the slums, you will not see any beautiful sight, neither will you see any trees, neither will you see any good things, and it is very dirty. Here he sees, unlike other school children who are usually energetic and full of life, these children seem withered and lifeless. The children of the slum are also, kind of unwanted in society, just as weeds are unwanted in a garden. See, now comes the explanation of the different children in the class. The first is, a tall girl in the classroom is very depressed. She keeps her head down, being burdened by the sad thoughts. The girl is perhaps physically and mentally exhausted due to her poverty. गरीबी उतना उनको परेशान करती है कि उसको स्कूल में भी उसकी हालत के बारे में ही आइडियाज़ आते रहते हैं. Now let us go to the other students. The other students in the class are not in a better situation either. Just like the girl who is burdened with her problems in her life, there is also a boy sitting in the class who is as thin as a paper, undoubtedly because there is not enough food and he is malnutrition. He has big eyes like those of a rat or a raccoon. Now there is another description of yet another boy in the classroom. It says that he has inherited his father's arthritis. Because of the disease, he has stunted growth and his bones are twisted. Because they don't have good medication facility or good air or good surroundings, they are prone to more disease. And this is the way. This boy is very short in height, his growth has stopped and he has twisted hands and legs. He has inherited the disease from his father and he recites his lesson from the desk in a very mellow but weak voice. इतना weak है कि वो ठीक से बोल भी नहीं सकता. And the last explanation that the poet says that there is another sweet boy sitting at the back of the class and he is sitting there and thinking about what? He is unnoticed and dreaming of squirrels playing in a tree. The dull and monotonous atmosphere that is prevalent in the classroom is perhaps unable to arrest his attention, right? So this is the situation in a slum classroom. Maybe the building is not so good and maybe even the children that are sitting there are equally not clean. Their surroundings are not clean, and because of that the whole psychological atmosphere is also not up to the mark. Fine. Now let us go to the second stanza. I'll read first the second stanza. On sour cream walls donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome, riding all cities, belled, flowery, Trioles valley, open-handed map, awarding the world its world, and yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all their futures painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes and stars of world. See, if you compare the first stanza and the second stanza, the first stanza gives us the description of where the children are sitting, and the second stanza, the poet describes the dirty classroom. Yes, he starts with it. How does he describe? That the walls of the classrooms are pale and dirty, and gives a rather, very unpleasant feeling about the atmosphere. Then he goes on to describe what is on the wall. On the walls are the names of people who have given donations for that school. There is a picture of Shakespeare on the wall. There are pictures of domed cities. See, the picture of a domed city means beautiful architectural buildings which usually people go to visit. And the picture of Shakespeare is also hanging on the wall. The pictures of domes of big cities represent the quality of life in those cities, and the early morning sky is shown as cloudless in another picture. Cloudless means pristine, clean, without any blemishes, right? There is also a picture of a beautiful Triolese Valley. This picture is really the picture of a Triolese Valley, a region in the Austrian Alpine province, which is usually adorned with flowers, right? And the world map which is hanging over there divides the two countries, big and small, symbolically gives the children the whole world. Right, here it is said that the children are sitting in a very dirty, grim classroom, but on the walls there are pictures of Shakespeare. There is pictures of beautiful valleys and open skies and beautiful flowers, everything beautiful. But all these pictures have no meaning to these impoverished and poor children. The world depicted on these walls is not the world that these children live. Right, and the world does not contain huge domes or prosperity or richness or scenery or scenic beauty which are presented in the pictures hanging on the wall. Unfortunately, their world is painted with fog. The fog represents hopelessness and hunger, and their future is grim, uncertain, and sealed with a dark and dull sky. See, on the walls, bright, happy, full of sun, beautiful sceneries, but what is their real situation? Their situation, reality is hopelessness, hunger, grim future, uncertainty, and filled with darkness, gloom, as represented by a dull sky. The poet again says that their world is far, far away from the actual world of rivers and capes and valleys. These things are like stars in the skies which they will never be able to touch or even able to go near them. Let us go to the third stanza. I'll first read the third stanza. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. For lives that shyly turn in their cramped holes, from fog to endless night, on their slag heap these children, where skins peeped through their bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glass, like bottle bits on stones. All of their time and space are floggy slum, so blot their maps with slums as big as doom. See, here in these lines the poet calls that the portrait of Shakespeare, it seems wicked because it is meaningless for the children to go to a slum school. right? And there is no quality education in these schools. The children have never seen a proper school. The children will never learn about Shakespeare's work. The map is also a bad example, because these children will never leave their jhopadpatti or their ilaka or their classrooms, for the matter of fact. Is the whole world, and they will never leave that place and go anywhere. There is no world beyond their poverty, hunger and hopelessness. So these maps which are hanging, the pictures that are hanging, are unreal for these children. The beautiful world that it offers, like the sun, the ship, the love, the care, are only temptations, or they are tempting things for them. They live as usual in very cramped holes like hutments, and there is no end to their misery. There is a perpetual state of doom, hunger and despair. See, even their bodies are described as garbage heaps, and they are very very skinny, and वो लोग इतने दुबले पतले हैं कि you can see that their bones are protruding out of their skin. The state of poverty is so intensified by the fact that the glasses also which they wear are cracked and look like broken pieces of a bottle. See, the utmost despair, बोलो ना कि एकदम बुरी हालत अगर किसी की होती है तो ये चिल्ड्रन की होती है, जो वो ऐसे झोपड़पट्टी में रहते हैं, राइट? ऑल ऑफ देयर लाइफ इज बीइंग डिस्ट्रॉयड हियर इन द स्लम्स. द स्लम इज लाइक अ ब्लॉट, या तो बोलते हैं ना काला धब्बा, as big as the doom on the maps of these children. That is the lives of these children. Fine, let us go to the fourth stanza. How can all these be changed? So in the poem itself, in the last stanza, the poet tries to give us some respite, and let us read what he says in his own lines. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their likes like catacombs break open till they break the town and show the children to green fields and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books, the white and green leaves open, history theirs whose language is the sun. See, here our poet pictures the solution to how these situations can be changed. How can these situations can be changed? Unless the governor or an inspector or a visitor comes to visit them. See, these children will continue to suffer the hell that they are living in unless somebody from the government officials come and visit such schools and come forward to help them, really help them. The poet wants the civilized world or the educated world to come and bridge the gap between them and the world of these children. They should offer these children a glimpse of a better world, so that the maps become their window to the beautiful and charming world outside. Then these windows of this elementary school in which they are cramped in, who has confined their hopes and dreams, must be broken, so that these children can be brought out into green fields, away from dirty and filthy surroundings. The poet even goes on to desire that the children should be allowed to run freely on these beautiful green, flowery, open blue sky. Not only that, they must be given a chance to run freely on the golden sand under a clear sky. In short, he says that every child, irrespective of their upbringing, their class, their condition, their social condition, either they are rich or poor, from a good family or from a bad family, from a slum or from a palace, they should be given equal opportunity to make progress. They should be allowed what? Quality education. And the poet feels that education is the only thing which can help them immensely, because according to him, history is written by those whose language has the warmth and energy of the sun. See, here he uses the sun to show that one time it gives us warmth. Warmth is something कि अगर ठंडी की सीज़न में अगर वो थोड़ी गर्मी नहीं मिलती है तो we will freeze to death. But at the same time it also gives us energy. कभी कभी सन की एनर्जी इतनी ज़्यादा हो जाती है कि वो सब कुछ जला देती है. सो इट हैज़ टू बी अ फाइन बैलेंस बिटवीन एजुकेशन and also the help of the society, which can give that hope, which can give wings to the desire, and which can give a push to the dreams of these children only through education, and this is how they will make progress. Fine. So I'll like to end the explanation by telling that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, not only your world but also the world of many different people. Education is something, अगर संस्कृत में तो एक सुभाषित है जो बोलते हैं कि एजुकेशन एंड नॉलेज इज समथिंग, कि कभी कोई चोर चुरा के नहीं ले जाता. नो thieves can steal it from you. The fire cannot burn it, the water cannot drown it, neither can anybody snatch it away for you. So please if you are given an opportunity to have quality education, change your life. Fine. So this is a brief explanation to our very nice poem, the poem called An Elementary Classroom in a Slum. Once again, let me just gather some things. The theme: social injustice and the need to improve the condition of these people. And yes, it is a free verse form. Again, it's good that I am back and I could connect with you. I hope this explanation will help